right. Good evening, everybody. This is Jason here, and I am so excited because I am getting to talk to literally one of the people that really inspired me to get into ultra running. I've got Jason Green from the Yeti Trail Runners on. Jason, thank you for being able to get with me this afternoon and talk for a little bit.
Jason, thanks. And that is a really big compliment that you came to ultra running through me and the Yetis, and you're still damn doing it. That means we conveyed the passion correctly.
That's right. That's right. So, it's interesting when you think about, like running and trail running and, why we do what we do. And I saw a post the other day where a lady had, I guess, ordered some stuff through you, and you had written a handwritten note to her, like, just like a few words, and it like meant so much to her. And I think that is one of the things that really, I think I really connect well. And I'll tell you a story, and then we'll get started on your path.
Okay.
When I ran my first damn Yeti a few years ago, I remember picking up my bib, and on the back of the bib, you had written, like, good luck, you're going to do great out there, and you signed your name on it. And I had already ran a few races, and I was like, holy shit, nobody's ever written like a personalized like note to me on the back of that bib. And you had written that on everybody's bib, and there was like a lot of people flipping running this race. And so I was like, man, anybody that takes this amount of time to connect with the people that are running in his race really says a lot to me. And that's, I think, one of the things that I think I really admire about you as a person, because you really connect with each of the people that run your races.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, everything that I do, I owe to skateboarding. One time I was like at a demo as a kid, right? And I bought a skateboard, and it was like the Bones Brigade tour, and my parents drove me all the way to Princeton, West Virginia to see the tour. And I got a skateboard, right? And someone took the time to sign it to me, skate with me, and it just, I felt this connection, right? And when I do things, the ultra running, like skateboarding is very passion driven, and ultra running, and I want people to run the race to feel that connection that I did to ultra run, right? It's not about a trophy or anything, right? It's about keeping that fire lit and our passion going for each other in our community. And I think, as a race director, acknowledging everyone in your race is the best thing you can do. And that's kind of how the Yetis got started. Is I ran a race, and they only cared about the top 10 people, right?
Right.
And I still say there's one race I run every year, and the race directors never said thank you or good job at the finish line. And it's disappointing, right? And you just feel like nothing, and I go there every year because it's a great course, and all my friends go, and we have a good time regardless. But and that was the reason. But these folks are like from that mentality, and that's why I created Yetis to change that. I was like, what? There has to be people like me that aren't very good. That 300 people are in it, they're going to finish 200, right? Like, why can't the 200th place feel damn good too, right? So,
right.
And that's what started it all, and that's why I invited people to my backyard and to run little races, and sure enough, I was like, oh wow, I just thought there'd be 10 of us. You know what I mean? So, I thought I'd have my little ultra gang running around the woods, and then all of a sudden, where you have 300 people, and I'm getting hate mail from the old time ultra running groups.
That's great. So I'm sure there's some people that's watching that probably has never really even heard the whole, progression of your running. Because I think we forget that you run it. I mean, because
Oh,
everybody's like, they associate you with the hug and the high fives and the
yes.
fireball and stuff like that. But where did the running start?
So I ran in junior high school and loved it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
thought it was the greatest thing, and just lost interest in skateboarding. And somehow just, I tell people I was sitting in my doctor's office for like a checkup. I'm reading this article, and it's about someone running 50 miles through the woods. I smoked at the time. This is what people in the booze industry do, right? We smoked and drank all night. We sold booze. And by the time it was just a little like 200-word article. And by the time I walked to the doctor's office, the first thing out of my mouth was, how do I quit smoking? And you think I could run 50 miles? And he was like, you know how you quit smoking? You just quit. And I think it might be hard for you to run 50 miles in the near future. And 11 months later, I ran the Mississippi 50 in 10 hours and 45 minutes. So,
Hell yeah.
so that article really, it's like everything in my life that I've found passion in, like skateboarding. I went to say goodbye to a friend that was moving, and they had already moved the day before. We didn't have cell phones or communication. I just walked to his house and say goodbye. And he left the skateboard in the front yard, right? He's like he is a rich ass kid, like had like the Madrid, like awesome board. Like we're talking like straight from California, buck 50, right?
Right.
And I picked this board up and I never stepped off of it. Like, and that article did the exact same thing. Like I read it, I went and ran 50 miles and I've never stopped. So I have very little athletic ability, but I got a shit ton of passion. What I mean? So.
well, hold on a minute. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, because I remember back, it's been a long time. I looked at it in a while. I remember looking at your ultra sign up, because I remember thinking, hold on a minute, I want to see what this guy's ran before. I mean, you've done some hard shit though. You ran the Barkley Fall Classic, right?
The very first year, yeah. I still think the hardest race I've run is that Dan Stroll Gym 40 miler. Jesus Christ. So, and that, when you come to the aid station, it's warm jugs of water on the side of a Tennessee road. Like life don't get any worse. Yeah, I've run, I don't know, I calculated it was like, now it's like over 120 ultras races. Wow. So yeah, I love to race. I treat a lot of them like training. I just love to be a part of events and be with people who share the same passion. And that's why I go to races. I don't really race. I love courses that race directors lay out. Like, so I've run with Todd Henderson, that puts on the Penn Hody and Mountain Cheehaw. We've run races together. And when I run his course, it's truly an extension of himself, right? So
right.
It's fun to go to people's races. I know, like James Warner out in Washington, I run Orchids Island 50K, and I can tell this is James. It's a true extension of. And those are my favorite races, when the course and the race just captures the race director's personality. So, and I love those. But yeah, I've done some hard shit, and but I still say running 40 miles in Tennessee on the road in a hot day is and this is as a race director, somebody goes, 8 miles is a little too far between aid stations. Like, have you run Stroll Gym? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like things are a little soft these days when it comes to aid stations. I roll in, they're making custom vegan burritos, and like back in the day, you're like, oh, you in the middle of the woods, you come up with a table full of Pepsi cups full of Gatorade. That's nobody was even there.
Right, right.
But
so about Stroll Gym. So with that, the year I ran the damn Yeti, I ran Strolling Jim 30 days before that. and I remember somebody telling me, they're like, he puts jugs of water on the side of the road. And I'm like, man, you're bullshitting me, man. He doesn't do that. And they're like, you got to have a crew, because if you don't have a crew, the aid there is like beef sticks and like water. And the beef sticks are only like on the race like twice, right? And
yes.
like it was one of the hardest days of my life. It was, first off, it was like extremely humidity. It came the worst storm I've ever ran in my life, other than last year's Yeti 100. And it was just extremely hard. And then of course he talked shit by writing on the road about how his mother could beat you running a race. It's like so demoralizing.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, like, and that's those races are a direct extension of him, because he would go out with not even a handheld and run the Tennessee roads. You know what I mean? Like this, like Laz is no slouch in the day. He ran all those Tennessee roads. So I have to tell you, that was a hard race. But you know what? When you do hard things like that and you're in a race, I'll go, at least this isn't H9 50 mile or my mind kind of categorizes it and goes, oh, this climb is only 10 minutes. It could be this climb, and it's pretty funny how my mind deals out with itself to keep going. But I definitely think I love race experiences. I just think, I've run a lot of routes before, like R3, and I still find connection being around people who share the same passion as I do. I think it's very fun. And I know I like to beat up on the people that win races, but sometimes they're amazing to me, because I think about, I'm like, man, I came in 4 hours after this person. So I love to see people go fast, and I love to see people leave it all out there and step over that bound of doing something they didn't think was possible, and that's why I like to be out running and just feeling that from everybody.
So when you look at all your races, like you talk about that H9 a whole lot, like does that race really speak to you like a lot?
So to me, that race is ultra running, and it is what is all good about it. It's what's all bad about it. It's everything. And to me, I always say Damn Yeti is a fun race. It's a race that I'm very jealous of, standing at the finish line. But there's one race that the H9 just speaks real volumes to me. To me, it is the heart and soul of ultra running. And as a race director, sometimes I get jealous because I would like for that to be my race, because it's a great course. It pushes you to the edge and you have to step off of it and come back on. And there's no one ever finished that race who doesn't have respect for everything and everything about it. And it's good. I think if you look it up, I probably have 6-7 hours between finishing times there. So, and I like a course that breaks me. I like to be broken off. I like the DNF, and that's a race that has put me there, and I've had to walk off at mile 30, and I think it's awesome. I like that. I like the opportunity to fail, right? Like I love it. So, when I go to say run American River 50, American River 50, I'm at the start line and I go, I know I'm going to finish, right? 99.8% of the time. At H9, even though I've run 8 years marathon, I don't know what's going to happen, so, and I love that feeling.
So, and I know, that's what's so cool about these races. And I've got to interview a few people here recently who's ran that H9 race, and they all say the same thing that you say, as basically that course, you have to respect it, and you have to give it pretty much everything you got, because it's going to take everything you got, whether you whether you mean for it to or not.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I get to the end of that and I have meaning. Like it kind of validates my passion and my drive, when I reach the finish there. And it really brings a lot of joy to my life. I may not look at it, and people might see the photos and videos of me during that race and go, oh my God. But I'm actually, like, my soul is lit up like a Christmas tree, even though I'm cussing like a sailor, probably. So it really is, to me, the most beautiful thing.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So you ran all these, you got into ultra running, you did all these races, and then at some point you decided you wanted to do your own thing. And we talked a little bit about that just a minute ago, where you were talking about, the backyard type of thing. So give us a brief history of kind of how Yeti trail running started.
So I first started ultra running. I tell people, even before I ran my first ultra, I probably volunteered at like 5 ultra races before, right? And I knew I loved it. I want to be a part of it. And when I ran my first race, like, I knew what to expect. This is like my biggest key ingredient to people before they run their first ultra race, is just volunteer at a couple races. A lot more knowledge at an aid station than any book or coach can give you. And when I ran a race, it's like, it didn't speak to me like I thought it was going to speak to me. I ran another one and it was pretty good, right? But I felt like it didn't capture like me, or didn't capture the people I ran with every week, like the Milners and stuff, like their expression. And it just so happened I lived on Sweetwater Creek State Park to back up, and I'd built miles of trail to mountain bike on. And so I just invited people to my house one day, and it's like, and I worked for an alcohol distributor, craft distributor, 10 years ago, like, no one had craft beer, 12 years ago, right, whatever it's been, right, now. And people came out and they loved it. And so then we did it, like, say at Christmas, we had the Yeti spaghetti. We just had people come out and run, hang. And that's where, and anyone who ran those first snake bites that 9-year, they will all know, like, that was a real extension of myself. I said, you will not run on these roads again, right? So on like these old carriage roads. And from there, we attracted all the people we liked. So it was awesome. And
so real quick, that was so that's that's where the snake bite is held at, and so you, and I didn't know that you actually had property. So you literally had stuff that backed up to Sweetwater.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I didn't know that part of the story.
No, yeah. And we would just leave from my house. Like, it was truly like garage punk stuff. Like, we would have an aid station at the garage and run. Then we'd set it up near the trail that we had built, and people would run. And it really just steamrolled, and I was so, like, shocked that people got what I was trying to put down, because it was so foreign back then, because ultra racing was very one directional, like, and here comes this guy that puts the Sex Pistols albums on t-shirts, and like, you got a race shirt that wasn't about the race. you know what I mean? Like, who knew people would like that? But they and I was like, holy cow, I guess people do feel this way, and I just wanted to put on an event where everyone was thought of from first to last, and we encouraged everyone no matter what. So, I used to get these crazy emails, and at the time, I don't care who you are, like, you get enough, like, angry messages on social media or email. When I first started Yetis, like, cutoff times used to be like 8 hours in a 50K, 9 hours, right? But to me, I was like, sometimes we'll just ride those lines at races, right? It was very stressful to me. And I was like, I want to strip that away. Let's just take it to 12 hours for a 50K, like a moderate course 50K. And I would get these emails. It's like, you're ruining ultra running. that's called walk. You know what I mean? Like their time is supposed to be the fucking time. And I was just like, and I would like really question if I was ruining like ultra running. And I was like, nah, you know what I mean? Like this is how it's meant to be. It's ultra running is meant for everyone. And if you don't agree with that, then you're a no one. Like, and that's how I feel. And that's why I want people to come to the race and feel like they have time to do it and to complete it, right? It doesn't hurt anyone else in that race, So, and luckily all the volunteers that come, they're behind that kind of strategy of getting everybody to the finish line the best we can. And I just think people get it and they like it. And, I just want you to have a good smile on your face at the end.
So at what point did you decide, hey, I want to bring people to my hometown, to my backyard? Like, because I think the reason why I signed up for so many of the races in Damascus is because of the personal connection that you have to that area, because it's so, like, you can tell, like, when you're there, like, you're just like possessed by like how like amazing it is to like have these people kind of like literally in your backyard, and you're getting to share all of this with them. And so, like, at what point did you decide, hey, I want to bring these people to my backyard and show them what Damascus is all about?
So just by chance, I took some people to come run. We're just going to run a 50K. And I was like, come back to my folks' house and we'll go up and run the trail. And we ran the trail like just end to end. And they like, people loved it. Like that I brought. And next year I was like, I think someone like 2 people in the Yeti group, like their 100 fell through. And I was like, why don't you come run 100 up here? And back then, like, things were hard. Like, we made them hard. Like, they were just hard. And so there was no aid stations, so I had buckles made up, and these probably 8 to 12 people ran it, and probably 75% of them finished and got buckles. And the next year I had like 20 people wanting to run it, so we did it again. It was just like show up, run, and you get a buckle. And I was like, these are some hardy souls that run 100 miles out here just stopping to eat at Subway in Damascus. You know what I mean? And drinking from the water stations. And then I was like, maybe we should have a race. And people are like, who's going to come here? There's no major airport around. You know what I mean? To me, like, people put up a lot of these roadblocks. And I was like, it's a very special place. So, I called the Forest Service to get a permit, and they're like, no way. No, anytime you like say you want to do 100 miles, they just envision people like dying off. You know what I mean? And they already deal with like every weekend someone leaving in an ambulance because of a bike wreck. So they're like, no way. This is going to be crazy. And I was like, well, how about if we do the race on a Friday, and that way everyone can travel back on Sunday and not miss like another day at work? And they're like, sounds good. And we did it. And the first year, it sold out. And the second year, like, we stalled ultra sign up because they are horrible at that bullshit. So we had to go to lottery. And I hate a lottery. I think it's horrible, right? Like, and I try to, and I think next year it's just going to be get up and sign up. So it just snowballed, right? And I think people were like, the 50 miler came out as people like, I'm not ready for 100. You should, like, can I just come sign up for the 100 and only do 50 miles or 50K? And I was like, okay, let's just do a 50-mile 50K. And I was surprised a lot. As some kid who grew up in the mountains of Virginia, and I spent a lot of time in those hills, right? Hiking. But, when you're a teenager and you grow up in a town of like, 9,000 people, and you're, listen to the Smiths and you ride a skateboard, that's the last place you want to be. But so it's very funny. The further, there's probably country songs written about what I'm getting ready to say. The further I got away from home, the more I realized how much home meant to me. The more I realized how much the people that I grew up with, the people who owned the country stores that knew my family for generations. You know, my family's been there since the 1700s. You know, and working in mines, being poor, and eating potatoes, and all the things that come along with Appalachia. And I think when people come there, they see what this good life is about, and in that, and it's a very special place. And I think when you go there, you see the kindness of people who own the businesses there, and I think you feel what they've been through just to be operating day to day, and what their parents and grandparents did also there. And I think people just get a real sense of pride of being there. And I think when people go there, they see what humans are supposed to be like. You know?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And what's interesting is I know you've gotten into mountaineering. I'm getting into backpacking, and so I've been watching a lot of thru hikers do their through hiking the Appalachian Trail, and they go to trail days. And I was watching this guy talking about Damascus, and he said it is amazing what this little town can do with all of these hikers, because it is such a huge event. And yes. this little town puts on this big freaking event for all these people. And you watch, and there's like hundreds of tents, and there's all these vendors, and they're everywhere. And yet this town is capable of so much. I mean, it's like with your race, with the trail days. I mean, and then if you said that, the sense of pride, like you go to Mojo's and eat, and the people there, it's just like, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I like I said, it's truly because if you want to see what grace and civility look like, go to Damascus and Abington and the community surrounding it, Bristol. This is what's there. They welcome you with open arms, right? Until you slap them in the face, then you're gonna get, and then they're gonna kick your ass out. But this is what I grew up with, and I think when I'm around, I think people maybe try to be a good representative of Southwest Virginia when I'm away running and away, and how beautiful and just what a mark it's made on my life. Having family, being coal mines, and like I said, it's Appalachia is never an easy way of life for anyone, and it's very tough, and people work very, very hard, and they believe in their neighbors, and they believe in the good of life.
And I think what you just said here really epitomizes what your races are about. And for somebody like me who is a mid packer, it's just the support. It just with the volunteers and everybody smiling, and you have Jerry and with the music, and he's dancing and he's high-fiving people. You don't get that experience anywhere. And it was just like last year during the 100. I ran through that entire tropical storm that we had, right? So I ran through the whole thing, and it had the most amazing time. I got to about mile 70 and started having some health issues. And I remember sitting at the steps on Alvarado, and I was debating on whether or not I needed to keep going or not. And it was amazing because all of the volunteers kept coming over and were like checking on me and like, what can I do for you? What do you need? Do you need us to call somebody? And then what really struck me was not the volunteers as much as it was the other racers. I probably had a dozen people sit down on the step beside me at that train station and ask me how I was doing. Ask me how, I mean, you can't, where do you see that?
I agree. And that's so great for me to hear and makes me feel a pride that when people come and sign up for the races, they get it, right? They get what we're putting down, and what community we want to see continue on past us.
Right.
So,
And I think that really is what makes the races that you put on so special. At least for me it is, because like these people were in the middle of running their own damn race, right? They
yeah,
didn't have to walk over to me and ask me how I was doing, you know.
uh, that really, what you just said, like really, like it makes me feel special. That's because that's what I always want, is that as people to be together, no matter place, no matter uh, uh, anything, like, and just to be supported, like one big great community where everyone is welcome and supported, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I've always put out, right, like, if you don't gain satisfaction from the success of others, you probably don't belong with us, and
Right.
I'm so happy to hear that. That really, I don't get to see what's happening on the course the whole time. So when you tell me that, it really, I'm like, we are doing the right thing, and
Yeah.
attracting the right people.
Right. And what really struck me was there was one lady that came over, and she came over and she said, "How are you doing?" And I told her what was going on with me, and she looked at me and I just don't know what I need to do. And she patted me on the back and she said there will always be other races. And she goes, "Be proud of what you did, because what you did today was epic." And I was like, holy crap. I mean, like how
That's
often do you hear
awesome.
stuff like I mean, how often do you hear stuff like that?
I agree. I agree. And that really just makes my heart just swell. Like, and that's really what I hope for out there is going on, and, and, so I've run into too many aid stations in my life where it's like a big party and everyone's asleep at 3 a.m. So this is good to hear.
No,
So,
yeah, trust me, I think it was around mile 72, and it
yeah,
was still go it was strong.
that last year it was tough. It was tough. We were all dealing with, the with COVID and its uncertainty of traveling and racing. What the hell do we eat? Do we even drink out of this cooler? Right? Like, and then you get dealt with 10 hours of rain, and hats off to everybody that just started it and continued and went and went and went. I loved it. And this is why you run in the rain. When it rains, you go out and run in it, right? Because you need to know what socks and lube work. This is what I say.
Right, absolutely, and I just think that's really great, and it's just one thing that it means a lot to me when you can run in races like that, and I know I keep saying it, so I won't keep dwelling on it, but I just think it's just really cool, and I think that that's why a lot of us keep coming back, and ironically, it's funny because a lot of people think that course they think it's flat and easy. There ain't nothing easy about that damn course.
No. So when I hear that, I just really laugh, right? Because first thing, there ain't no easy 50K. There ain't no damn easy 5K. And that course will chew you up, right? Like, I see more blood on the damn Yeti and Yeti 100 than I do any mountain race that I do. So it is a tough course, right? Like, you going up, it's very tough. And as someone who's tried to PR a 50K from top to bottom and the legs just burn out and had to walk the last 9 miles, I can tell you it's so tough, right? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree. I think, people really, sometimes show up at like races like Javelina or something, and they don't understand the preparedness of what's about to happen, right? Like when you run a 100 miler with, say, 22, 25,000 feet of gain, you get walk breaks forced upon you, right? When you get
Mhm.
3% grade that you can run, that your mind tells you, and down and, downhill running, busting your quads, people get busted off, right? Like, and I think, you always have to train for a course, like you have to do it. And I always tell
Yeah.
people, like, if it was me, I would, you know, every day, like I would try to find like a 3 mile fire Forest Service road with like, 4 or 5% grade. And I would just run so hard down it, walk back up it, and run down it hard again, right? Just destroying my quads. But some people just show up like they're gonna run the whole thing, and, and then they're Frankenstein walking at mile 25. So,
Oh, absolutely. Well, a funny story. I was last year. I was crewing a friend of mine with and him and Greg Armstrong when they were running Scar, and I
yeah,
was riding. We were riding home with Greg, and I was talking to Greg about different styles of races. And we started talking about your race, and I was talking about how what the terrain's like on the Creeper Trail. And Greg said, he said a lot of times these courses that are built like the Creeper Trail, he called off yours in Tunnel Hill. He
yeah,
said you're using the same muscles over and over again. And he said arguably these flat courses
yeah,
can be just as hard as any mountain style race because you're having to use those same muscles
yeah.
over and over and over again.
Absolutely. And anyone that runs a lot of races and different varied will know. you know, I I don't know. I think when people consider anything easy, I'm just like, shit. Please tell me where this easy race is. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Right. Oh my goodness, you're so right. Well, and I think that's great. But I guess let's move. Let's kind of change directions a little bit. Uh, One of the things I noticed you were talking about how you've been rehabbing
oh yeah.
an injury, and so what's that been like? I mean,
Oh, like,
like where are you at? How did it happen? For those who don't know, kind of what's
yeah.
going on.
So like the worst injury to a runner, right, is I ruptured my Achilles. And I into like friction climbing, and when I see a mountain, I'm not gonna tell anyone where the mountain is or anything, but when I see a mountain, I will determine is there more than 4 or 5 ways up it, like LeConte. There's 4 ways, 5 ways up to the top, right? And it's awesome to
Right.
figure those out. So I was running, and I got put into a little bit of a class 4 scramble. Nothing major, it's still friction. I had a couple holds, and a piece of rock crumbled under my feet and sent me in a free fall. And so
Oh,
instead of dying, I just fell into a crack about 100 yards below, which saved my life. But my
what the hell?
toe, yeah, my toes came back and uh, touched my shin. And so I didn't know any of all this at the time, kind of in shock. What I was most weird about is I was like, yeah, I always thought like when you're getting ready to die, you'd have like fucking film roll through your mind, or you at least get to say, "Oh shit." Nothing. It was very weird. It just happened. Like it was just something that was happening, and then it all stopped. And so suddenly, I'm in this space in the mountain, and like I preach, take responsibility for yourself, right? So I
Mhm.
got this phone, and I desperately just want to be off the damn mountain. And I was like, man, what? My pride was like, take responsibility. So I, did a little class 3 scramble up out of this crack back on the trail. And when I got on the trail, like, my emotions are just running over. It's just some weird feeling. And I was like, holy shit, like I didn't die. You know what I mean? And I got
Right.
back onto the main trail, and I just took off walking, and all of a sudden I fell on my face. But I was in zero pain. I didn't know what happened. Like I was like, so 4 miles later, hours, I end up at my car, still committed to this self-extraction. So I drove to the ER, and they did a full scan since I was in a fall, and they said, you ruptured your Achilles. And I was like, what's that mean? And they're like, you need to go see an ortho. And I'm like, you're not doing anything now? And they're like, nope, nothing now. And so I went to an ortho, and the sports guy that works with the Braves in Atlanta, and he looked at me and he said, and he was like, you are a long way from getting back to where you walked into this office. And he was like, you will never be the same. You will never run the same. You won't, it will be effort for the next few years. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if things happen for a reason, but something happened. Like, so then I got put in a cast and just all these things. And, to let the Achilles, fuse back in the calf. And I was like, I've taken running for granted. Right. And I was like, and I just had a lot of time to think about running and think about racing and ultra running and the things I like to do. And it was a really good time of self-reflection for me. And I just got up one day in a cast, went to the Walmart and bought a bike, like a stationary bike. And I sawed the pedal off one side so my cast could hang down. And I rode twice a day. And I said, I am going to beat the statistics of this, right? And I told my ortho this. So the ortho sent me to this crazy blood flow restriction therapy, and I was doing all this shit. And I have to tell you, 8 weeks later, I walked up I made Mount Rogers, where I grew up, the first mountain I went up. And I walked up in this kind of brace, and it's been a long road to recovery. I still recover. The problem about an Achilles is there's a lot before you rupture it, there's a lot of spring in it. So now, the longer I'm on my feet, sometimes it's like operating on a flat tire. Like it don't want to toe off, right?
Right.
And that's a real, when you're running, it's just like shit, So, but lately it's getting better. I've been going longer. So that's why I was like, I'm going to go javelina and really see if I can run. I did H9, but H9 is a lot of like uphill power walking, right? Like really uphill, just poles, right? So so I've been working to get back to just being able to run. I just love to run sometimes. I know.
Right.
I know I walk a shit ton in ultra races, but believe me, I love to run when I can run. but and so it's been a hard fight back, and also I love to summit mountains, and I do a lot of solo stuff. I love it. It pushes things, and it was hard to even get back to that, to be relying on 3 toes on a foot that don't work very well to push off or miss the move and die. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah,
it's been like this very, but I think it's made me a better runner. I think it's made me a better person. I've had a lot of time to reflect more on running and what running means to me, and also, pursue, and also, as this injury where I wasn't able to just go out and hit 15, 18 miles, I became more of a run mountaineering guy. Like, so 10 miles, class 3, 4 scrambles, snow, ice axe, like what can I do still? Right. So, and, I started doing a lot of that, pushing myself and pushing like, mountaineering and mountain running, like trying to really join them every time that I go out. So and when COVID hit, we all got to work from home, the booze business went, and I had a lot more time to just, fuck off and run up a mountain, So when you're working by phones and everything now, I think we all discovered this is a great quality of life, right? Like, we can do our jobs and be happy too, right? So
Right.
And so you're not spending an hour, 2 hours in the car fighting traffic, all these things. So it was a good thing, and that's what my passion is now, is really merging mountaineering and running together, and just seeing how far it can go. I mean, I think Killian Jornet is at the very top of that list, but I would like to see more ultra runners like do these things that usually take people 2 days, and we can go out and knock them out in 10, 11 hours. And I would love to see more ultra runners getting into mountaineering and taking a climbing class and going out to the local mountain and just seeing if there's another way up, right?
Right.
If you take these classes like lead, intro, learn how to get down, you'll realize safety. And and I encourage you, because I have mountains where I at one time believed there was only one way up, and now I have look at my routes and there's 25 ways up to the summit. And it just makes it fun. Running is very fun to me again, and I'm glad races are going on, and I'm glad I've been able to run some, and I'm running some odd distance race this weekend, a 22 miler, which I always love. I always think I'm in for the biggest. I always think I'm in for the biggest treat when I sign up for a race. It's like 17 miles or like 36. Like some weird, like instead of it just being a 50K half marathon. I always love races that have just weird as hell distances. So
right, like 23 miles, right?
Yeah, like anything. Like I love this so much when like it's like 24, right? So
right.
It keeps away anyone who wants to go to 26.
That's right. You don't get the 2 more. You get to stop at 24.
Yeah.
It's funny that you talk about the mountaineering. I just finished watching a documentary with Gary Robbins, and I think Jeff Pelletier was filming it, where he moved to this town. I think it's like Chilliwack or Chilliwack. I don't know. It's one of those not British Columbia, but one of those Canadian cities. And he wanted to do 100 miles on this mountain, kind of in his backyard, right?
Yeah.
And so he's like running on this course, and he's like trying to get up this mountain. And he looked at it, and he's like trying to figure out how to get up it. And there was like 4 or 5 different ways to get up it. And he finally figured out a way to get up it to where it would be safe for him to get up it and then go across the ridgeline for it. So it's interesting you talking about the mountaineering and running, because you see people like Gary Robbins doing stuff like that now. He's been hurt.
Yeah. I mean, my dream is to have the first like ex-alpine race in the USA. Like where it's a blend of mountaineering and running, and I have a place. The problem is there's no one really wants to bike. Like any permitting agency is like, no way, right? Because that's where I would like to see. I would love for someone in the USA to just blend them and have them come together. So I remember I went to Switzerland one time, and like somebody put an X in front of the name, right? And I thought it was just like a USA bullshit, like extreme. I ran this race and it broke me off. I was so scared, like like using hand lines to go down. I mean, it was awesome, right? And I said, this needs to come to the US, and we have the mountains, and I'm pretty sure in this country there's a group of folks doing some weird race out of their garage, exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're listening to this, please invite me.
So the mountains out west compared to the east, how do you compare them?
So they're a lot different. The mountains in the west require a little more technical skill set. the East Coast has big challenges too, right? Like no one builds a switchback on the East Coast, and anyone who's been on the Duncan Ridge or any of that crap, over, in North Carolina, and the blacks will tell you, like, it just breaks you off, like the grade, and the they definitely both have their challenges. It out west, you get like some good switchbacks, and then you have to make a right onto a climber's trail, right? So now you just use your hands, right? But in the east, you're just getting broke off, going like no relief, right? Like,
Right.
So sometimes out west, they just chase this like sustainable grade, right? So for 3 miles, there'll be 25 switchbacks before you need to make a right onto a climber's trail, and it just breaks me. You know what I mean? And I just want to like go up between all the switchbacks, but there's a lot of just in the West, it requires a lot more technical knowledge, and you just need to. In the West, you need to know how to get down safely. Believe it or not, it's something you don't really think about in the East. If you got up, you're pretty good to go down, but out here sometimes down is not as easy, right? And I bet if we put pen to paper, a lot of accidents, probably most accidents happen on the way down, in the West.
Really?
So yeah. When you're climbing, things don't look bad, and when you're coming down, you're like, how did I climb up this cliff, right? And now you don't have a rope, you don't have a sling, there's exposure, and all those things. So I just probably a few months ago cliffed out on this peak, and if there wouldn't have been somebody below me, I don't know what I would have done. So he set up a sling and got me down. But it happens. It was my fault. I tried to read that's one thing I always do is read all the data, if all the trip reports. It don't matter if I'm the East Coast, West Coast, wherever. I will just comb people's data and trip reports and get some knowledge, right? Because I definitely don't want to be running on a trail with 25 trees down or whatever might be going on with it, right? Like take that long drive from Atlanta up to North Georgia, and there'll be 20 trees on a 13-mile loop, and it just makes for a long day.
Right. Absolutely. I just interviewed Lauren Byhofer, and she had attempted to run the Bigfoot 200, and she got about 70 miles in and pulled her groin because she had been climbing over so much blowdown on the trail.
Oh, yeah.
And she was talking about how, and I'm actually watching a guy hike the CDT right now, and he's the blowdown is just terrible along those trails out west. And she was talking about how you can't even see where the trail is.
No, and there's huge trees, right? Like they require. You're like, how do I get over this? Does anyone have a rope? Maybe a few weeks ago, I ran into a tree like that. And somebody just had left a hatchet. So as people have been going by this little hatchet. So I stood there for like 30 minutes hatcheting. I was like, well, it's the only way. Like, no one wants to carry a saw like 8 miles back, in here. So,
no.
So I love that there was a hatchet there. But yeah,
that's great. So do you?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just at the Bigfoot 43, same thing. I had to cross a couple of trees, and and anyone that runs, any type of distance knows when you force yourself to do, at mile 30, 35, 40, 50, right? When you force yourself to try to climb over a tree, it's like you're the Tin Man, So very, very breaking.
Oh, absolutely. And so I guess with the mountaineering, you have aspirations to do like any like wall climbing, like Yosemite?
Not really. I am more into bagging like teaks, right? So I definitely carry rope, and I have to climb sometimes, and have to be with a partner to go set protection, and sometimes I have to run with a helmet on, which is really weird, but I have no aspirations to do those big walls, multi-pitch walls. Like my whole idea is like, okay, we see this mountain. It's a 25-mile round trip. Everyone does multi-nights. Like, let's get this done in 11 hours. Like that is my ask. And luckily I've met some people who share the same that car to car is life. I don't like sleeping in a tent anymore. I like wake up all crew. So, I want to get back, eat hamburgers, drink a couple beers, and laugh about the bullshit we went through. You know what I mean? So, that's really my goal these days, and it keeps me from some peaks that I have friends do. I'm just not into those big, long, multi-pitch wall climbs where I got on like weird shoes all day. You know what I mean? Like, I hate climbing shoes with like a passion, and it's so it's tough. It's tough for me to do it. Sometimes, I've done it and it can be fun, but so
I totally get it. Nobody wants to be shitting in a bag on the side of a mountain, right?
No. Yeah. I mean, I love to bag peaks, and that is really my I go to a climbing gym now like once a week and just up and down the wall and just practicing. And in the winter I'll go find a big slope and make jump head first down it and make sure I can stop myself by flipping it. It's just I love that. I love the adventure it gives. And I think most people probably follow me on social media and know that all my pursuits are almost solo, which makes everything, twice as hard. And I just love that. I love it. I love relying on myself and getting to these places. And, it's very fun. I feel like I feel like I'm like 12 again. There's no real trail to the top, right? You're following some dude's like what he thinks is the right way, or whoever, you're following someone's route and it's just fun. And sometimes, it's like ultra running. A lot of the times it just doesn't work out, right? Like it's truly like ultra running. Like I say, I don't get caught up in short-term failures. I definitely have turned away from more summits than I've made. And I don't get caught up in it. And, I think that's what I love about ultra running is these two things, running, mountaineering, and racing, provides me with the opportunity to really fall on my face and fail, right? Like I like that. I like giving the opportunity. And that's why I like skateboarding, Dude, I worked on like a trick for 2 hours before I nailed it, right? Like just shins beat up. I just love that. I just think too many people play it safe. And that's why I hate when I see these, race reports from people are so heartbroken that they failed. And I'm like, I feel like that's part of it too. I feel like I only know one person who's run a ton of races and never DNF, and they run 100% every time. And that's Craig, the RD at Western States. Dude has never DNF. And maybe I'm missing someone else, but this guy runs 100%, has never failed. Andy Jones Wilkins used to be in that group, and he just ate like a DNF a couple months ago.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how he does it. I truly don't, So, but I hate when I see these things. It's like, oh, I'm not going to run anymore. I quit. I'm going to stop running for a long time, racing because I had to DNF. I'm just like, I truly, this is what's great, right? This is why you show up to a race, like to see what you can do that day. And
absolutely.
I mean, I will walk off a course immediately and not even regret it. So, trust me.
What was it? Was it? I think it was a race. You were talking about Killian. I think there was a race that he was running, and he just got to a spot, and he was like, "I'm not having fun anymore. I quit," and just walked off the damn course. I mean, it's that right there should tell you something. I mean, Killian, who is arguably one of the best ultra slash mountain runners in the world.
Yeah.
If he can say, I'm not having fun, I'm not doing this, I think we all can, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's good. And I think you just take what you did wrong to end up where you were to walk off a course. You kind of learn from that and keep moving, But I love that feeling. I love to be at a start line and just have to do everything perfectly and have everything on point to reach the finish. I love that, right? Like minimizing mistakes, not going out too fast, not drinking Ensure and doing a shot of Fireball at the same time. Like whatever dumb crap I will do. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why I do it, but after all these races, I will still eat the weirdest shit that I've never thought I would eat, that I don't like in my normal. Like, I have drank Ensure and Dr. Pepper and spent the next 2 hours puking. Yeah, why would I do these things? I don't know, and I still can't figure it out. And I will look at them and know better, but I'm like, I want this.
Right. Well, that's the great thing. It's this funny thing about ultra running. It's just the things you do before, during, and after. It was 2 years ago. I ran the damn Yeti 50, and my friend tells the story. He makes fun of me all the time. So I finished running the damn 50, the 50 miler, and we go to that pizza place down there in that by the Food City or whatever it is. The grocery store. Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's right across from the grocery store.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and the guy walks up, and he's like, "What can I get you to drink?" And I just looked at him and I said, "I ran 50 miles." And my friend was like, "What in the hell was that?" He's like, "That guy don't give a damn if you just ran 50 miles."
That's awesome. I was just telling someone the other day that after this huge effort, I have trouble with mundane tasks like pumping gas. I will be pumping gas, be like, why am I pumping this gas? Look what I just, you know what I mean? It's
right.
To me, our emotional roller coaster back to normal after we put out all this mental and physical effort, right? So it's really, right. It's interesting to me. I think someone could write a book about it.
Right, absolutely. Oh my goodness, man! This has been so much fun. I think I've monopolized it. I've monopolized so much of your time tonight.
Oh, dude, thank you. And I have to tell you, that what you said about you in that race. Occasionally as race directors, you just don't know if you're always doing the right thing. And when you said that really, that is what I want in the race. I like that feeling. It's what I want conveyed to everyone at the starting line. And I was glad that you were able to get that experience. And it means a lot to me that you run the Yeti races. I love that. And I, like you always to be there,
Yeah.
So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. The most undertrained I've ever been, but I'm going to be there with I'm dragging Sam and Will back up there with me, and Sam's going to try to pull me through one more time, and Will's going to try to pull me up the mountain.
Just remember, I saw Brad Goodrich. I don't know if you know him. One year he ran to Abington, couldn't run anymore, and walked the rest of the way in. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. So just keep moving. I feel like a lot of people get wrecked up there being at aid stations for 20 minutes at a time, right? I come in there and people are eating burritos, and I think we have a food truck in Damascus this time, so I'm sure I'm going to see people over there lounging out eating tacos or something, forgetting they're in a race.
So, they'll be with their shoes off and shit, with their shirts off, laid in a lounge chair. I look forward to handing you a buckle. So we'll see in a couple weeks. I'm excited to be there, and so I guess we'll wrap up the interview, guys. As always, if you have not subscribed and to my channel yet, please do give this video a like, because this has been one of the most raddest interviews I have ever done. and give it a like. But that's it for tonight, and I will see you on the trail.
Thanks, Jason. I'll see you soon, brother.